All right, so general administrative homework stuff. Attendance password is recursion. Say something about recursion later. Interim grades. We don't have interim grades. All right. Grad students don't have interim grades. All right, so we won't do that sentence. We should have an exam at some point, or not. I don't really care. Do you guys want to have exams?
We have a choice.
Huh?
We have a choice.
Like we could choose to just do quizzes and just have that sort of count as the exam grade, or we could set aside 2 or 3 or 1 specific. We could have a final at the end.
We can do that.
We could have a final and a midterm. We could have a midterm and then sort of close to the end and a final, or we could have no tests and just have these quiz grades count for stuff.
We can have a final.
So what's the reason to have exams? It makes you study. That's the reason to have exams. And also, you don't cheat on exams. Even you can't help each other on exams. You can help each other on homework assignments, but you can't help on exams. But we can have quizzes for that. Exams, though, the bad thing about exams is they take up time where we could be doing other stuff.
True. Let's not have exams.
All right, why don't you discuss with one person what you would do, and then we'll decide. Discuss with one person, at least one person. Man, that's small.
I have a question.
Yeah?
Are the exams going to be on paper too, or in class?
I can't do it in the library, but I can do some sort of the exam starts at 11 p.m. I could allocate an hour. And I would make it long enough so that you wouldn't have time to do somebody else's stuff.
The quizzes are. It's HTML.
Okay, let's see. So we have 0, 1, 2, or 3 exams. Those are the choices. All right, show of hands. Who votes for 0? Okay. All right, so we voted, and we will have 0 exams. So, all right. So then the natural thing to do would be to count these quizzes under an exam category, and then do something with that. That would be the right thing to do. So that we'll operate under that assumption for the next couple weeks and see how it looks. So let's see. I will take the in-class quizzes and put them under an exam category, and we'll see what it looks like. in a few weeks. Good enough? Okay, so then we don't have to worry about exams. Everybody.
The attendance says false implies true. Isn't that false?
Oh, false implies true. What's the right answer to that?
True.
True. So you have false implies true. What's the, this is a death marker. In logic, so if you've done logic or discrete math or whatever, you convert this into, so P implies Q is the same as saying not P or Q. Those are defined to be equivalent. So then when you take this is defined to be true if either the first thing is false or the second thing is true. So you do not F or true, which is true, true or true, which is true. All right, so the right answer is true for the attendance. But I think it tells you your score, right? If you get a 0, then take it again and switch your answer. It's the last one that counts. All right, homework 4 is the WordPress one. I haven't actually looked at them, so I'll do that after Thursday. And hopefully, I mean, if you're not sure about what you're doing, if it's okay, then ask me to look at yours, and I will, probably, before I grade it. Last time the quiz, I'll get that back to you next time. I put something under homework 4.5 that's just start having an index. All right, so today is PHP and forms. It comes up eventually. I'm going to put something up here that I think I'm going to take down, but so this is what I mean by recursion in a bad way. So I have a file called infiniterecursion.php, and then I have an include. This is how you do an include in PHP. Well, it's one way to do an include, I think. We'll see whether it gives us an error or not. All right, so what happens if I try to run this program? Bad. It includes itself. See if that actually happens. So it went up to the maximum amount of memory that it was allowed. So another thing that can happen is if I had let's say I had bad HTML in here, and somebody tried to load this file in their browser, what would happen? It would be doing this infinite recursion. Is it doing the recursion on their computer or the server? It's on the server. So PHP runs on the server and then sends back the answer. So if they have some sort of mistake in their program, if you have a mistake in your code and it happens to do recursion on accident, I mean, if it includes itself, then it'll be spinning like that, but potentially it will also be generating error logs on the server because sometimes that happens. So somebody last year actually filled the file system with error logs by having a PHP file that included itself and had errors. So don't do that. Don't do this. We're not allowed to kill the server. Last time we had our first PHP program. Which you know how to do now. So the classic thing to do as a first example is, how many people have done PHP before? Calculator? Who wants to do a calculator? Everybody. Let's do a calculator. All right, so if we're going to do a calculator, what is the UI going to look like? We're going to have some, maybe a text field with some numbers. Maybe there's going to be buttons, so we have to do those. Let's just steal an example from somewhere. We'll take one from them. Maybe not that much. Come on. Okay, we'll take this. All right, so that's the form that we copied, and if you look at the HTML, this is in the notes somewhere, the UW notes. So you have a form tag, and inside of there, you can have just arbitrary HTML. I could have divs and stuff like that, but the special things are these inputs. So the input fields, and it's pretty self-explanatory. Okay, so then if we want to do something to this, right now it's going to do, right, so what happens here, the form, you have the action. The action says, all right, what's the workflow here? The workflow is when you load the page, it just loads what it looks like. This September 15th.php is a PHP file, so is it doing any PHP processing as it is? There's no PHP stuff inside of it, so there's nothing like this in it right now. That's okay. It just doesn't do anything special. It just loads like an HTML file. All right. And then when they click the submit, what happens? Whatever is in here. So anything that has an input is in an input tag will get sent here. And if we, so let's call this 2, 3. So this is what happens. It goes to a page. Action, September 15th action.php, where x equals 2 and y equals 3. All right, so we could put something there. So now if we go back, I just put the same file there, and we want to get access to these. The whole point is to get access to these values, right? Okay, I actually have not looked ahead. Has anybody read this part of the notes? Nobody. All right. And you can do this. Does this actually work? What's the right way? Somebody's saying something. I guess it doesn't matter. I can use either one. All right. So there's two ways that a form can send information. One is on these parameters like this, and that's kind of nice to the user because they can see what's going on. Let's do HTML form post. Example. Showing up in the address bar, it's sent another way, and then I would have to use post. To go back and do it again. It doesn't like my comments. Okay, so if I run it like this, what's it saying there? It's a PHP file. What does it do? First, it checks that there's not syntax errors in the file. If there's not syntax errors in the file, you're going from bottom to top, and anywhere there's just HTML, it's going to print that out to the file. Anywhere there's PHP, it's going to run it. We have undefined index x on line 9, which is there. Why do we have undefined index x? I just ran it like this. There's no, it's expecting some values from a form, right? So I didn't run it as a form. I don't know if I can give values here or not. There's a way, but I don't know if this is the way. Doesn't like that. All right, let's not worry about the way to do it. So if I run it here and there's no, then it just does that. Okay. How should we make this better? I don't know. Other operations. So a radio button, we can put a radio button in. I don't know, this is a sweet user interface. Okay, so then the op gets the value of %2b is a shortcut for plus. 2b must be the hex value for plus. All right, so then we want to use that over here. How do we get the op instead of saying plus here? Okay, get, and then what? We need the name of the variable, which is op. And if I switched this to whatever the next, I don't know, 2c is comma, 2d is minus, all right. Okay, so then if we're going to do, one or the other, then we're going to have an if test, right? Is there a switch in PHP? All right, we'll do it with if. If this variable, let's give this a shorter name. So x equals up. Let's give this a shorter name up here. Up is plus echo this. Let's make these other ones have shorter names as well. Anytime you're getting ready to type the same thing that you already typed before, you shouldn't do that, right? I shouldn't type this get x thing multiple times. I should just do it once at the top. Okay, there's that. Why is this not spacing it? I don't know. Okay, so what if we put in, let's say 5 times 6. That's reassuring. What if we do division? What is 5 divided by 6? Is it going to do integer division or floating point division? I don't know. Who thinks it's going to do int? How about float? I don't know. Float. All right. So if we wanted to do int, then I believe typecasting is just like in C. Or perhaps not. We could certainly typecast the result. Okay. All right, so we have this so far. It's kind of annoying. We have to go back and forth. So instead of having 2 separate pages, you can just make the page itself compute the answer. So what I'm suggesting is have something like have our self process. Okay, so if I make the first page be the one that that is the action, what's going to happen if I hit submit? So it's going to send this page the parameters. Does this page currently do anything with the parameters? No. So it's just going to like reload the page. All right. So if we want the same page to process the parameters, then we need to put stuff in there. To do that, and so we're a PHP file. We want to say something here like if if they clicked submit already, then what? Okay, so we need to know how to tell if they clicked submit already, and one way is this is set function. So if there is a variable like this, then they clicked submit, and we could do stuff. And if they didn't click submit, we could do some other stuff. Okay, so if they did click submit before, then I don't know, we don't want these values to go away, right? Whatever, so if they could click submit, you would like those values to stay there. One way to do that is to put so put PHP variables in there, x equals 1, y equals 1, unless they already have values. Okay, so then I reload it and it keeps the values. That's good. I also should do that for the op. And we want to put the answer somewhere. Let's put it down here. Perhaps if okay, so if the variable is set, I'm going to print this out. And if you have double quotes, then variables inside are things that start with a $sign. They'll be given their actual values, I think. Let's see what happens. First I have to reload the form. There's an error. End of the file. That's okay. Let's try it now. Okay, so the basic structure, if we're using our own self to submit the form, is you have the form. There's some preliminary stuff that sets things up if the form was already submitted, and that could happen. So there's some stuff up there, and there's some stuff below as well. One thing that's still not happening is we would like this selection to remain when they submit. Anybody know how? How? Louder? Refresh? No. There's something you need to put in the code to tell it which one is selected. Checked? Is that the right thing? Let's go to, okay, check. But so we only want it to be checked if it should be, right? We could put checked here, and then it'll always do times. So it always goes back to times there. Right, so but what we want is only to be checked if appropriate. So we could do this. So we'd have one of those for every this is one way to do it. For every one of those. Did I get rid of a BR? Okay, that's wonderful. Exciting. Why don't we take a minute and you can decide if you want to ask about anything or what else should we make our example do. Ready, set, go, discuss or something.